If I could have everyone's attention, please, we'll get this show on the road. If you would, please stand and let's pledge allegiance. So, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Now I'd like to introduce President of our board, Dave Armstrong.
Thank you, Pat. Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome everyone here. It's great to see everyone. Pretty good turnout.
Get right close to the mic, please.
Excuse me. Didn't get the instructions before I walked up here. So again, welcome to everyone. I have been informed that we do have a quorum today. I would call the meeting to order at this time. You should have had a opportunity to look at the meeting agenda. And I would ask now if the meeting agenda meets the approval of the attendees. And I'm going to take that as a yes. Thank you. Okay. John Knievel now will come forward to read the notice of the annual meeting and the minutes of last meeting.
Thank you, Dave. The notice of the 66th annual meeting of members and directors of the Northeast Nebraska Telephone Company. To all members and directors of the Northeast Nebraska Telephone Company, you are hereby notified that the 66th annual meeting of members of Northeast Nebraska Telephone Company will be held at Northeast Nebraska Telephone Company, located at 110 East Elk Street, Jackson, Nebraska, on the third Thursday, 21st day of September 2023 at 4 p.m. The purpose of the meeting is for the election of directors, presentation of company reports, and for such other business as may properly come before the meeting or any adjournment thereof. Nominations by committee to the three vacancies for three-year terms are Dave Armstrong, District 1, John Knievel, District 3, Tom Stronach, District 4. The company provides the enclosed proxy card for your use if you are unable to attend. You may select one of the directors listed or enter a member's name who will be present to act as your proxy in connection with any business to come before the meeting. The proxy card is addressed on the reverse side for mailing. Important, please be sure to sign and date the proxy card, as the proxy is not valid without date and signature. Please RSVP for this meeting to ensure a quorum will be reached. Call 888-397-4321, email NNTC, or fill out the online form by September 14th. Please leave your name and the number in your party, including yourself. Please note, with an earlier meeting time, light refreshments will be served. Every NNTC member in attendance will receive a gift from the company and be eligible for prizes. See the yellow attendance card for details. Any other matter for the good of the company may be brought up at the meeting. Your company will continue to be what you, the members, make it. Dated the first day of September 2023, John L. Knievel, Secretary. And now I'll read the minutes from the last annual meeting. The 65th annual members meeting of Northeast Nebraska Telephone Company. The 65th annual members meeting of Northeast Nebraska Telephone Company was held on Thursday, September 22nd, 2022 at Northeast Nebraska Telephone Company Warehouse, Jackson, Nebraska. The meeting was called to order at 4 p.m. with President Dave Armstrong presiding. Mr. Armstrong also proclaimed that a quorum was registered and present. The agenda for the meeting was approved. The notice of the annual meeting and the minutes of the 2021 annual member meeting were read by board member Greg Hoffman for board secretary John L. Knievel. The minutes were approved as read. Alyssa Arns briefly discussed the company's financial status. She commented that everyone should have received a treasurer's report during the registration for this meeting and asked if there were any questions from the floor. There being no questions, a motion was then made and seconded that the treasurer's report be adopted as presented. Motion carried. President Dave Armstrong then praised the staff of NNTC and asked for a round of applause for them. NNTC General Manager Pat McElroy shared trends in the industry as part of the manager's report. He stated the average of internet gigabyte usage per household nationwide is 491 per month, while among NNTC customer base, the average usage is 277 gigabytes per month. He also reported usage among customers is up 25% since last year and grew 70% in the last 3 years. He stated the real test of NNTC's network will be 5 years into the future with the growth projected. He said the company needs to make sure the network can handle 3 to 5 times the data it is today. He also told the crowd of 225 that the company would need to grow the network from a 10 gigabyte ring to a 100 gigabyte rings over the next 5 years to be prepared for the increase in internet traffic. McElroy also asked members to take notice of the maple tree planted earlier in the day in memory of Emery Graffus. McElroy showed that Graffus had given him a chance at NNTC back in 1989. Graffus worked for NNTC for 50 years, starting as a tree trimmer and eventually becoming the company's general manager in 1978 until 2014. Graffus passed away earlier this year. Mike Brabeck read the minutes of the July 22nd nominating committee meeting. Following the reading of the minutes of the nominating committee and a request for nominations from the floor, the members were asked to use their ballots to vote for the directors of their choice. The ballot counting committee reported that Larry Domino was reelected to District at Large, Jeff Hartung was reelected to District 2, and Jeff Hurrow was elected to District 5. The meeting was adjourned at 4:45 p.m. Signed, John L. Knievel, Secretary.
Thank you, John. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes? Hearing none, they will stand approved as read. At this time, we have a couple of drawings for gift cards to the Lunchbox, which is down the street here in Jackson, and Bob's Bar in Martinsburg. Lunchbox, okay.
And then we'll do Bob's Bar for this.
All right. The winner to the gift certificate to the Lunchbox is Crystal Ron from Allen. And the winner of the Bob's Bar gift certificate is Jeff Mawley from Weston, Nebraska. All right, it's good to see you. Before Pat comes up and gives his report, I would like to thank you again for all coming. I think that Pat will indicate that our company is in very strong position, and a lot of that credit goes to the people in the blue shirts in this room, our employees. They're great employees. They do a wonderful job for us and have grown this company's value year by year. And I would ask you to join me in applauding them at this time. Thank you. You do a wonderful job. We appreciate it. Okay. And now with the manager's report. Treasurer's report. All right, we have Alyssa Arns.
Don't everybody clap at once. Don't worry about it.
I knew you were going to do this.
That's what right into.
I'm feeling really tall right now.
On a footstool.
Broke it. Hello? Okay. Anybody want to come down for a seat in the front row for this exciting presentation? There's room. Okay. If you were here last year, you're probably as surprised as I am that I'm still here and I didn't get fired for telling jokes at the expense of my boss. Clearly what that means is I obviously did something right, so be sure to stay tuned. But for now, let's talk about what you guys really care about. The numbers that lead to putting a capital credit check in your hand. You should have all received a notice of the annual meeting booklet. If you turn to page 5, you will see the income statement. Turning your attention to the bottom of the page, you'll see the net income of just over $3.5 million. Similar to the last several years, we now have to record unrealized gains and losses on the income statement. So that includes an unrealized loss last year of $4.5 million. So the real net income is right around $8 million. And in prior years, it's been a gain, and so it's just a moving number, and because they're not actually stocks that are sold. Hopefully next year you see another rise in that. Moving on to the balance sheet on page 6, you can see at the bottom of the page our assets are just under $105 million. This is down from last year about the same amount as the unrealized loss that we had to record, the $4.5 million. If you turn to page 7, you'll see the second half of the balance sheet. Toward the bottom half of the page under equity, you'll see capital credits allocated, which shows $53 million has been allocated through 2021. Last December, the board authorized a payout of $5 million in capital credits that included 20% of the 2021 allocations, 100% of the 2011 allocations, and 30% of a special allocation done in 2012. This was from the proceeds of a sale of a wireless license that we held from 2006 to 2012. So in order to have received a check out of that pool, you would have had to have been a customer during that time. This is the 4th year in a row that the board has made the decision to pay back current customers. So they pay back the most current year, so that's the newest members that we can pay back, which allows them to feel like they're of value being part of the co-op. To date, NNTC has paid out nearly $75 million to the members since 1990. A couple other things I wanted to point out quickly is if you move to page 8, we are continuing to see the company grow subscribers. As you can see, not having to require a phone line anymore has been a positive for both customers and the company. In fact, even though we only added 78 new customers overall, 200 people added internet last year to either a new or existing account. And last but not least, we continue to pay down the debt borrowed from the Rural Utilities Service to put in all the fiber facilities. At the end of last year, it was below $11 million, with all notes being below 3%. And now that you've made it through all that excitement, you will soon be hearing from General Manager Pat McElroy. Normally, this is where I would tell a joke at his expense, but you're witnessing the new, mature, wiser Alyssa, and I might be pressing my luck to not get fired 2 years in a row. So, with that being said,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Thank you, Alyssa. On hearing the treasurer's report, are there any questions about that report? Thank you, Melissa. Oh, yes, sir.
What
Could you repeat that? I apologize.
Telephone plant that has non-operating plant and goodwill.
Oh, excuse me.
So he's referring to on page 6 in your handout, he's referring to the $2.5 million under non-operating plant and goodwill. Is that right? Okay. So that's the amount that we paid when we purchased the telephone company of Clark's down south. That's the amount that we paid above the book value. And so that will just remain on the books forever, or until we sell the company or something, which we don't plan on doing.
Thank you, Alyssa. A good question. Thank you. Are there any other questions of the treasurer's report? Okay. Seeing none, I would look for a motion to approve that report. Okay, and a motion and a second, please. A second right here. Thank you. So now, Mr. McAfee will come up and give us his manager's report.
That's all right, Dave. That's all right, Dave. I know who I am today. So I might loosen this up in case I roam about a little bit. But as Dave said, thank you, Dave. I'm Pat McElroy, General Manager. I've been at NNTC for 20 years. The first 10 years, I came right out of Briarcliff and worked here. I went and worked for another company for a while, and I've been back since 2012. So I stand here today on the shoulders of quite a few giants that started this company and made it go like it has been. A couple I would really like to publicly acknowledge are the former managers, Howard Rasmussen and Emery Graffis. Both of them were long-serving and put an indelible mark on what this company has become. So they kind of made our job a little easier. So. I always consider myself and all of our employees lucky. We work for a great board and we work for all of you. Everything we do is accomplished by all the blue shirts in the room, and don't forget that. We have a great staff. They tackle every challenge that we put before them, and they're pretty pleasing to work with, which I really appreciate because it could be otherwise, and I don't relish that. So when I started in the phone industry in 1989, I had no idea where this journey would lead. Thankfully, it has led me to a metal building on a damp fall day talking to all of you. The co-op model gives the board and us great clarity when making decisions about the future. At the heart of every move we make, we're looking out for your best interests. It may not seem like it if you're the one that doesn't like one of the policies, but at the end of the day, that phrase, we're looking out for your best interests, sums up our daily goals. I don't know where we're at with PowerPoint over there, but maybe I should move a little bit so I can see it. Opening the Wall Street Journal every day reassures me that I'm lucky to be in this industry. As you can see, our company, our industry, is making news every day. It's a feast for my curiosity every day. Often the buzz is completely different from what we face in rural America. But it does give me a window into how the world looks at our operations. And that helps when we need to work with policymakers in Washington, D.C. Probably the biggest buzz nationwide is about the $42 billion that has been appropriated for rural broadband. Rural broadband is very expensive. In Nebraska, we received roughly $405 million to build out rural areas that do not have any broadband today. If you look at this map of Nebraska, Melissa, can you put that up? So, she'll get there. All this fire talk, I don't think I've fired anybody yet, but hey. Okay, so this is our state map. And if you look at this, it's probably confusing to a lot of you, but I'll step over here. All of these are little phone companies. And that $42 billion, that's going to places that don't have any internet today. So most of it will probably go in these yellow areas, which is Windstream, or in the blue areas, which is Lumen, CenturyLink, or in this, what were we going to call this? Pinkish red, brown, which is Frontier. Basically, those are publicly traded companies that are in Nebraska that have not invested a dime in rural Nebraska or rural America in 20 years. And the models didn't really work for them to invest, so you can't blame them. They have to answer to Wall Street, but it was terrible customer service. So of that $42 billion, hopefully other providers get in these areas and give these customers service. We get calls every day, people asking for us to edge out. So with that in mind, just for FYI, these brownish maroon colors, those are our exchanges where we serve customers. So just as an FYI. So our areas have all been built out with fiber for 10 years. So where are we at and where do we go from here? Just like any sports team, we must play great defense and sprinkle in a little good offense on occasion. By defense, I mean we must protect the areas that we serve today. We get support in our rural exchanges. The places that we've served since eternity, we get federal support for those areas. And there's other people looking to try to take that support. Those other people are Starlink and wireless, what we call WISPs. You'll see these players come along from time to time, and they might make a dent, but in the long run, there's advantages to what we do. Starlink is Elon Musk's project, low Earth orbit satellites. He's trying to launch 30,000 low Earth orbit satellites. To date, he has about 10,000 of them launched. You can see them in the night sky. I don't know if you've ever witnessed that. I saw it this summer one time when I was out late at night. So, but they line up and you can see them go across the horizon when they go. So, but he's only a third of the way where he needs to get with them. He started out with great fanfare, but he hasn't lived up to the promise of what he expected. He promised that he'd have over 200 megabits download and 100 megabits upload. And in areas where he gets more than a handful of customers, those rates are going down fast. And that's generally what happens with wireless operations. The other ones are WISPs. And in this area, we call them WISP, wireless internet service providers. You might have heard of BNT over by Allen. You might have heard of Nextlink or Warp. Those are some of the players that play in that arena. We've played in that arena years ago. That arena is not a good business model. You can flash in the pan and get customers, but you also can not make any money on it. Basically, as soon as you get enough money or enough customers on your system to make money, the service degrades terribly. They say that the wireless provider, it can serve anyone, but just not everyone. And by that, they mean that it's great when you have 15 customers on one of those towers, but you get 16 and 17, and everybody's service is terrible. So they're not built to last, and that's kind of what we're aiming for. And at the end of the day, their facilities are designed to serve anyone, but not everyone. So while fiber may be expensive to install, it is expandable. We can grow our volume and reliable, and it has what we believe to be a 30-year life cycle and maybe more. We feel pretty good about having buried fiber in all of our territories. On the offensive side of our team goals, we have been aggressively pursuing state grants to help us build out our areas that lie adjacent to our current properties and help create a buffer around our original towns. Part of our strategy is to block other overbuilders from coming out of South Sioux City or other towns. Another strategy is to take the state grants and get us closer to towns where we know there is great need for broadband. There have been 4 areas that we've been working on, and we'll kind of highlight those now. So, I know this is a busy map, but we serve the village of Hubbard, just down the road from here. Probably a lot of you guys are local about it, but this is Hubbard. This is the Cramper Lakes. This is the new golf course that's over here. We won a grant from the state to serve all of these areas in the hills. So we'll serve all this down to here. And it kind of works its way back over towards Homer. So that's our project we're working on right now. We have most of the fiber put in the ground. Now it's a matter of splicing it together and making sure everybody gets service. So hopefully by the end of the year, we have customers being served on this plant. So that's one project. The next project is north of Highway 20. So this is Highway 20 that runs across here. Our current exchange goes out of town about probably 3 miles. We're going to build from that point all the way over to the edge of South Sioux City. So here's Martin Airfield. You probably pass it when you drive past on Highway 20. We're going to go just east of that a little bit and north. Again, with the goal of probably shutting off anybody from coming out from Sioux City. This is a little busier and more square design, but that's rural America for you. This is Antelope County. For those of you not familiar, Antelope is east or west of here, but east of O'Neill. So as you can see here, this is our town of Clearwater, and these are our long-term customers that we've had forever. We have our service gentleman out there, Barry. And the blue is where we existingly serve. The pink little dots are where we're going to build to. We're basically going up to Orchard and over to Royal and then back down to our exchange area. So those are all these are about a little under $2 million projects. So, but we're going to gain 100 customers here and 100 customers there. So, and these have been grant projects from the state. And then this is the latest grant that we just won in August. And for those of you that can't see, this is Butler County. Butler County sits adjacent to our Weston Exchange. And this is existing fiber on the blue that we have in here. But this is David City. Up here would be Schuyler, and up here would be Columbus. So just for a reference point of where we're at. But basically, we're going to serve kind of in an L shape. What that does is it gets us fiber closer to Brainerd, which we get a lot of requests for, and closer to David City. So we get a lot of requests in there for circuits for cell towers and things like that. So in the past, we haven't been able to serve them because of the distance from our existing fiber. So yeah. So what's that? Yeah. So we will continue to look for grants and strategically expand in the coming years until the land rush is finished, meaning everybody has broadband in rural Nebraska. And I'd like to think that $405 million that the federal government's doling out will get it done, but I just don't see it happening. There's just a lot of rural area that has to be covered, and it's pricey. So on another note, one of the best things that we have done in the past 2 years have been going out and having coffees and happy hours in all 30 of our communities and presenting Smart Rural Community Awards. These visits consist of my little elevator speech that I would like all of our members to know about our co-op. So I'll give you a condensed version, but basically you have the fastest internet in Nebraska, and you've had it for 5 years now. So that's something you should be proud of as an owner of this co-op. You're doing things that they don't have over to town yet. They don't have in most of the communities around you. So what that allows is that you can have any sort of business you want. You can have your grandkids come and your kids live here without anything impeding their ability to grow. And that's a pretty great thing for most of our towns. And the more our people realize it, the better we'll be. The other thing that I kind of hit on when we do these Smart Rural Awards is just information about the co-op. We're governed by a 9-member board. We have 33 employees. And we invest every year. Every year we invest about $5 million in new technology so that we have the ability to serve you faster and faster internet. So that's what we do, and that's how we've been successful. But at the end of the day, we serve you. You know, you're our bosses, so we want to make it work. So with having said that, we're going to present a Smart Rural Community Award to the Village of Jackson, which we haven't done yet. So any members of the Jackson Village Board, if they're here, if they could come forward. I know Randy Morton will be here. Anybody else? So thank you. Hi, Randy. Randy, you're with the village?
Correct. Yep.
Okay, very good. This signifies from our trade association, basically that we have fiber to the home and fiber everywhere in the village of Jackson, and any business can grow here, and anything requiring internet can survive here. So we're very proud to present this. You're 29 out of our 30 towns, so congratulations. Yeah. Thank you. Mandy, she wants to take a picture of it going this way.
Just a little bit more. There you go. That's so much taller than you. So thank you.
Thanks. So, in conclusion, the goal when we started these, I'm just talk a little bit about these community meetings because I think they've been great. The goal was initially to reach out to people that normally don't engage with us and hopefully make them advocates for what we do. I feel that we have done that in a great way. At about every meeting, we were able to dispel some myth, something that somebody knew that really wasn't true. And we found a bunch of great testimonials from people that would come and advocate for us and tell us about things that they've done in the area, which was wonderful. And I really want to thank Melissa for setting up all those meetings. She made sure they all happened and put them on a calendar. And when we drive back and we review the meetings, I think the best part of every meeting was just meeting our customers on a friendly term. It gave me a morale boost every time I did it. And so I thank those who attended for a meeting. You inspired me, and that helps. So, in conclusion, you have a very, very strong co-op. And if you have any questions, you can ask me now or in the future. So, fire away. What do you have?
As far as co-ops go, full co-ops, how does NNTC compare to other ones?
We are probably the model co-op in the country. We pay back our capital credits better than anybody. We're more religious about that than most places. We invest every year, and we're growing members, and that's kind of encouraging. So, and you have state-of-the-art facilities. So, the board's done it right. So, you have a question?
Yeah, could you give like a high-level overview as you add these new exchanges with your 10 gig and 100 gig rings, some of the redundancy that you're planning, or just
Yes. Yeah. We've the question was, what kind of redundancy are you building into the plant as you build these new exchange areas? As you might see, most of those lie adjacent to our current areas. Ideally, in any telephone arrangement you build or internet arrangement, I talk telephone because I was born and raised in it, but any internet situation you would build, you want some sort of a ring. In case it cuts on one side, it should flow the other direction. And that's the difference between us and a lot of those WISPs and places like that. We buy carrier-grade equipment, which costs a lot of more money, but it has two sides to it. So if one side goes down, it should go the other route. So we've built those rings. Overall, the company-wide, we were struggling because we only had a 10 gig ring around all of our exchanges. And that caused us some difficulty. And we're just coming off having replaced all the equipment and getting new fiber routes to be able to have redundant rings all around our system. Good question.
follow up to that?
Yes.
So, like, if somebody was digging and they accidentally cut a fiber patch and it was to a significant portion, is that redundancy going to be scalable automatically? I mean,
If it's our main backhaul fiber, we should be, in theory, it should route the other direction. You could cut our leg going out towards these 20 farms, and we don't have redundancy that way, and you won't. Nobody would. So, all right. Anything else? Well, one more question.
A while back, I tried to dial out on the phone, landline phone, and got all secrets for waiting. I had to call back waiting. What was
Well, what can happen is rural calls will get blocked from certain areas. That's not a thing we do within our network. His question was he tried to dial out and said all circuits are busy. What happens is those circuits that go out go through a long distance carrier, and those long distance carriers play games because they don't want to complete calls in rural America. Because to complete a call in rural America probably costs 2 cents, but if you complete a call in a metro area, it costs less than a hundredth of a penny. So they don't want to pay the 2 cents to terminate or put a call out here. So when we hear about that stuff, we have to report it right away. And it's kind of like whack-a-mole. You know, we report it, they change it, and then they make it work. So. All right. Well, thank you. I'm here after this, and you can talk then. But we'll keep the meeting moving. Thanks. What do we got next, Dave? A couple door prizes? All right. If we could have, we're going to give away next a 500 gigabit credit, $65 value. Melissa's rolling it now. And then we'll give away a $100 gift card to Palermo Italian Cuisine and Bar in Jackson. So for those of you who haven't eaten there, it's new in town last year. It's very good. So. I guess. Okay. All right. The winner of the 500 gig is Julianne Kneifel. Julianne, we'll put that on your bill. We'll put a credit on your bill. So we have that here. And then the Palermo gift card goes to Harold Brunson from Coleridge. And Harold's over here, so. Tracy, did you want this plugged in or you want it? Okay. Oh, yeah. There you go, Dave.
Thank you, Pat. Okay. Thank you, Pat. At this time, we will have the minutes of the nominating committee read. Our board member, Tracy Ludwig, is going to step forward and do that for us.
All right, the nominating committee meeting from July 19th. The nominating committee meeting for Northeast Nebraska Telephone Company was convened at 8:32 p.m. Tuesday, July 19th, 2023 at Cahill's Restaurant, South Sioux City, Nebraska. Upon calling the roll, the following committee members were present. Ed Mosier Jr. of Clearwater, Terry Wilkerson of Coleridge, Sherry Albright of Jackson, Eugene Shamanik of Morse Bluff, Ray Kneifel of Dixon, and Stephanie Carroll of Stewart. Also in attendance was Pat McElroy, General Manager, and Alyssa Arns, Controller. Ed Mosier was elected Chairman, and Sherry Albright was elected Secretary. Chairman Ed Mosier then called the meeting to order. The minutes of the last nominating committee meeting held July 19th, 2022 were read. Ray Kneifel offered a motion to approve the minutes. Gene Shamanik seconded the motion, and the minutes were unanimously approved. Pat and Alyssa updated the committee about what has gone on in the company the last year. They talked about how the board approved a $6 increase in TV rates along with a 1 cent decrease in internet rates to 13 cents per gigabyte. They also talked about the 3 state grants that were awarded that included building out south of Hubbard, east of Jackson, and north of Clearwater. They mentioned there will be another round of state funding soon for which they were hoping to put in another application. They concluded by discussing the personnel changes and hiring challenges in the post-COVID environment. The 2023 annual membership meeting will be held on September 21st in Jackson, Nebraska. Chairman Ed Mosier then stated that nominations were in order for 3 directors, each serving 3-year terms. The following nominations were made and seconded. District number 1, Dave Armstrong of Newcastle. District number 3, John Kniefel of Clearwater. And District number 4, Tom Stronach of Morse Bluff. Pat thanked the committee members for participating in the process of submitting nominations for the annual membership meeting and requested the committee's continued input on company business and potential improvements. There being no other business to be conducted, a motion was made by Ray Kniefel to adjourn the meeting, and the motion was seconded by Jean Shimonik. The motion was approved and the meeting was adjourned.
Thank you, Tracy. At this time, it is the new business section of our meeting, and that new business is the director election. As Tracy has said, we have 3 nominees: myself, Dave Armstrong from District 1, John Knievel from District 3, and Tom Stronach of District 4. At this time, I would open the floor for nominations to be given.
I'll nominate David Armstrong, District 1.
All right, thank you. Are there any other nominations from the floor? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to close the nominations. So we have a motion. Is there a second? Thank you, sir. So the nominations for election have been closed. At this time, Pat will come forward, Mr. McElroy, and hopefully he's very forgiving, and I know he knows a lot more about sports than the other Pat I alluded for before, but thank you.
Yeah. Anytime he says Mr. McElroy, I think my dad's in the room, but that hasn't happened for a while. So, next we're going to collect the ballots. But before we do that, we have a couple of door prizes we're going to give away. Obviously, you've seen the big 75-inch TV. That's a grand prize we're giving away today. So, some lucky person's going to get that. So that's good. But we are going to pass the ballots to which direction, Melissa, or do we have the... Okay. So pass the ballots to the end of your rows and they'll collect them and place them. Okay, okay. All right, we have all the ballots? Very good. Well, the TV is our grand prize, but you're all winners for coming today. So with that being said, the board decided to award $50 bill credit to everybody that's here, and so that'll appear on your bill next month. So. Thanks for participating. Now let's see who wins that 75-inch TV. Directors cannot win this prize, so. I hope they drove a pickup so they can get this thing home, but if not, they can get it tomorrow. Oh, interesting. From Concord, Nebraska, the Concord-Dixon Senior Center. There being no other business to conduct, we will adjourn the meeting at this time. Thank you very much for coming, and thanks for coming out when it was raining earlier. So thanks. Bye.